He stopped the elevator between floors, backed her against the mirror, and finally kissed her like he'd been starving for it. But when his former business partner showed up claiming Gideon killed the one person Winnie loved most, she had to decide: trust the man who'd been lying since day one, or believe the enemy. Welcome back to Proudly Black Stories, my beautiful, amazing Pride family. You all have been so supportive, and I promise to always try my best to give you the best stories as I learn and improve every day. If this is your first time coming across my video, do comment below where you're watching from and hit subscribe to officially join the Pride family. Now, let's get into today's story. The glass tower of Rochester Capitol pierced the Chicago skyline like a shard of ice, all steel and ambition and ruthless precision. Winnie Kingston stood at its base, tilting her head back to take in the full 67 floors, and felt her stomach clench with something between terror and determination. She'd researched this moment for weeks, memorized every detail of Gideon Rochester's investment portfolio, practiced her answers until her roommate begged her to stop. But nothing could have prepared her for the reality of walking through those revolving doors into a lobby that smelled like money and power and the crushed dreams of everyone who hadn't been good enough. Her heels clicked against marble so polished she could see her reflection, a young woman in a charcoal suit she'd bought on sale but tailored to perfection, dark hair pulled back in a way that said professional but not apologetic. She needed this. Not wanted, needed. Her mother's medical bills were a mountain she couldn't climb alone, and this internship, this chance, was the only rope she had. The elevator ride to the 45th floor took less than a minute, but felt like falling in reverse. When the doors opened, a woman with silver hair and eyes that missed nothing looked up from her desk. "Winnie Kingston?" "Yes." "I'm Clara Smithen, Mr. Rochester's executive assistant." "You're early." "I believe in respecting people's time." Something that might have been approval flickered across Clara's face. "He's ready for you. Through those doors. And Miss Kingston, a word of advice. Don't let him see you sweat." Winnie's pulse kicked up, but she nodded and walked toward the double doors of frosted glass. She raised her hand to knock. "Come in, Miss Kingston. I don't have all day." The voice came from inside, deep and edged with impatience, and she pushed through into an office that was more like a throne room. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Lake Michigan like a painting, the water gray and restless under March clouds. The furniture was minimal, expensive, chosen by someone who valued function over comfort. And behind a desk of black glass sat Gideon Rochester himself. He didn't look up immediately. He was reading something. A file she realized with a jolt was hers, and she had a moment to observe him. 34 years old, according to Forbes, but he wore it like armor, every year a battle won. Dark hair cut sharp enough to draw blood, a jaw that could have been carved from the same stone as the building's foundation, and eyes, when he finally lifted them to her face, that were the color of a winter storm, gray and merciless and entirely focused on her. "Sit." Not an invitation, a command. She sat, keeping her spine straight, her expression calm. "Your portfolio is adequate." He dropped the file on his desk. "Your grades are exceptional, your references glowing, your extracurriculars impressive. Columbia should be proud." "Thank you." That wasn't a compliment. He leaned back in his chair, and the movement was predatory, a big cat deciding whether to pounce or play first. That was an observation. "Tell me why you're here." "I want to learn from the best." Flattery. Boring. Try again. Heat crept up her neck, but she held his gaze. "I'm here because Rochester Capital has the highest return rate in the industry, because your investment strategy is aggressive but calculated, and because working under you would teach me more in 3 months than most people learn in 3 years. Better. Still calculated, but at least honest." He stood, and God, he was tall, 6 feet of coiled energy and expensive suit. He moved to the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at his city. "What do you know about the Meridian tech deal?" The pivot was deliberate, designed to throw her off balance. She didn't let it. You acquired them last quarter for $2.3 billion. The stock rose 12% in the first month. And what do you think about the long-term viability? This was the trap. Everyone praised the Meridian deal. It was textbook Richester, bold and brilliant. But she'd done her homework, and she'd seen something that nagged at her. I think you overpaid. The silence that followed was so complete she could hear her own heartbeat. Gideon turned, slowly, and the look on his face was dangerous. Explain. Meridian's primary asset is their cloud infrastructure, but they're using architecture that's already 2 generations behind the curve. Their competitors are pivoting to decentralized systems, and within 18 months, Meridian's technology will be obsolete unless you invest another $1 billion in updates. You bought a racehorse that's already limping. And what would you have done? Waited. Let them panic when their Q3 earnings drop, then acquired them at half the price with leverage to restructure their entire tech division. Another beat of silence. Then Gideon walked toward her, each step deliberate, and stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and cedar, and entirely too distracting. You have fire, Miss Kingston. His voice dropped, intimate and assessing. Let's see if you burn out or burn brighter. I don't burn out. No. One corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. Most people shake when I look at them. You look back. That's either bravery or stupidity. Maybe it's confidence. Confidence is just fear that's learned to lie convincingly. He moved back to his desk, and she felt like she could breathe again. The position is yours. You start Monday. 70 hours a week, minimum, no exceptions, no excuses. You'll work directly with my team on active acquisitions. You'll be expected to contribute, not observe. Fail to meet my standards, and you're gone. Am I clear? Crystal, she said. Good. He picked up another file, dismissing her, but as she stood to leave, his voice stopped her at the door. One more thing, Miss Kingston. She turned. His eyes locked on hers, and there was something in them that sent electricity down her spine. Something that had nothing to do with business, and everything to do with the way his gaze dropped to her mouth for a fraction of a second before returning to her eyes. I don't tolerate weakness, and I don't repeat myself, but I have a feeling you'll make me break both those rules. The promise in his tone followed her all the way back to the elevator. Outside, Clara was waiting with an employment packet. Congratulations, you lasted longer than most. What do you mean? The older woman's smile was knowing. No one talks back to him and keeps their job. You just became his favorite obsession, or his next victim. Time will tell which. Winnie took the packet, her hands steady despite the tremor in her chest. I can handle him. Oh, sweetheart. Clara's voice was almost pitying. That's what they all think. The first week was hell, wrapped in expensive suits and impossible deadlines. Gideon Richester was demanding in a way that redefined the word. He expected her to anticipate his needs before he voiced them, to have data ready before he asked, to work at a pace that left her sleeping 4 hours a night and dreaming in spreadsheets. But worse than the work was the watching. He was always watching her. When she presented analysis in team meetings, his eyes tracked her every movement. When she brought him reports, he stood close enough that she felt the heat of him through her blazer. When she spoke, he listened with an intensity that made her forget what she was saying mid-sentence. And the worst part, the part that kept her awake at night in her tiny apartment, was that she liked it. On Friday afternoon of her first week, everything changed. She was in the break room attempting to make coffee that didn't taste like regret when Clara appeared in the doorway. Conference room. Now, Gideon wants the whole deal team. The conference room was chaos. A dozen associates stood around the table covered in documents, all talking at once, but they fell silent when Gideon walked in. He didn't sit. He paced like a caged wolf, and the anger rolling off him was almost visible. Cardigan Thorne just outbid us on the Stellar Industries acquisition. Winnie knew that name. Everyone in finance knew that name. Cardigan Thorne, boy genius turned corporate raider, who'd been Gideon's business partner before some spectacular falling out 3 years ago that the business press still speculated about. $2 billion. Gideon's voice was ice over steel. $2 billion. And he swooped in at the last second like the vulture he is. Someone in this room want to tell me how he knew our offer. No one spoke. Winnie watched him, saw the muscle jumping in his jaw, the white-knuckle grip he had on his self-control. Fine. Then let me tell you how we're going to fix this. We have 72 hours to put together a counteroffer so compelling that Stella's board would be insane to refuse. We're going to work around the clock, we're going to be perfect, and we're going to destroy Cardigan Thorne's play before he even knows what hit him. His eyes swept the room and landed on Winnie. Miss Kingston, you're on point with me. Her stomach dropped. Sir, you heard me. For the next 3 days, you're mine. Clear your schedule, cancel your plans. I want you in this building, or by my side every waking moment until this is done. He looked at the rest of the team. Everyone else, you have your assignments. We reconvene in 6 hours with preliminary numbers. Go. They scattered like startled birds. Winnie stood, her coffee forgotten, as Gideon walked toward her. Problem, Miss Kingston? No, sir. Good. Because I don't have time for hesitation. My office. Bring your laptop and whatever passes for your survival instincts. The next 3 days blurred together into an endless cycle of coffee and calculations and Gideon's relentless drive. They worked across the table from each other, side by side on the leather sofa in his office, standing at the windows while he talked through strategy and she took notes. He was brilliant, she realized. Not just smart, not just educated, but genuinely visionary in the way he saw patterns in markets that others missed. But it was more than his mind that unraveled her. It was the way he brought her coffee at 2 in the morning, already prepared the way she liked it, though she'd never told him. The way his hand brushed hers when passing documents, the contact lasting a fraction longer than necessary. The way his voice dropped when they were alone, losing that sharp edge and becoming something almost intimate. On the second night, she made a mistake. Transposed 2 numbers in a financial model that threw off the entire projection. She caught it, fixed it, but not before Gideon noticed. Tired, Miss Kingston? I'm fine. He looked at her. Really looked, and she became aware of how she must appear. Hair escaping its bun, mascara probably smudged, her third coffee of the hour going cold at her elbow. You should go home. You're still here. I have reasons to avoid an empty penthouse. What's your excuse? The admission surprised her, a crack in his armor. She set down her pen and met his gaze. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. Something shifted in his expression, heat flickering behind the ice. He stood from his desk and moved to where she sat on the sofa, close enough that she had to look up at him. When he spoke, his voice was rough velvet. Careful, Winnie. I might take that as an invitation. Her name. He'd said her name, not Miss Kingston, and the intimacy of it sent heat pooling low in her belly. She should say something professional, something to rebuild the boundary he'd just demolished. Instead, she heard herself whisper, maybe it is. The air between them crackled, electric and dangerous. His eyes dropped to her mouth, and she stopped breathing. He leaned down, one hand braced on the sofa back behind her, caging her in, and she could feel the heat of him, smell the coffee and cedar, and something uniquely him. When you bite your lip like that, he said, his voice barely above a murmur, it's incredibly distracting. Stop it, or I won't be responsible for what happens next. She hadn't even realized she was doing it. She released her lip and watched his pupils dilate. You smell like vanilla and ambition. He was so close now that if she leaned forward even an inch, they'd be kissing. It's a dangerous combination. Mr. Richester. Gideon. His hand came up, fingertips tracing the line of her jaw, so lightly she might have imagined it. Say it. This is... We shouldn't. I know. But he didn't move away. I've imagined firing you a dozen times this week. And I've imagined other things far more often. What things? The question escaped before she could stop it. His smile was dark, full of promise and warning. Do you have any idea what you do to me? Walking around my office in those heels, challenging me with those eyes. I'm trying to be professional, Winnie. I'm trying to be the responsible one here. But you make it impossible. Her heart was hammering so hard she was sure he could hear it. This was insane. He was her boss. This was her first week. She needed this job. But God, the way he was looking at her like she was something precious and dangerous all at once. Then his phone rang, shattering the moment. He straightened, stepping back, and the mask of control slammed back into place. He answered the call, turning away, and Winnie pressed a hand to her racing heart. What the hell was she doing? By the third day, they had their counteroffer, a package so comprehensive and strategically sound that even Gideon seemed satisfied. The board meeting with Stellar Industries was scheduled for the following afternoon in New York, which meant they had to fly out that morning. We'll take the jet, Gideon told her as they packed up files at 6 in the morning. Be at Midway at 9. I can book a commercial flight. I don't need to. Winnie. He looked at her over the top of his laptop. For once, just do as you're told without arguing. She bristled. I'm not afraid to argue with you. I know. It's one of your more intriguing qualities. He closed the laptop with a snap. 9 o'clock. Don't be late. She'd never been on a private jet. Standing on the tarmac watching the sleek white aircraft gleaming in the morning sun, she felt distinctly out of her depth. This was Gideon's world, money and power, and the kind of luxury most people only saw in movies. He was already aboard, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his elbows in a way that should not have been as attractive as it was. He looked up when she entered, and something in his expression softened. First time? That obvious? You walked in like you were afraid to touch anything. He gestured to the cream leather seat across from his. Relax. It's just a plane that costs more than I'll make in my lifetime. Several lifetimes, actually. But there was amusement in his voice, not cruelty. Sit. We have 2 hours. You should rest. She sat, trying not to gawk at the polished wood accents, the full bar, the level of comfort that redefined air travel. The engines hummed to life, and within minutes they were airborne, Chicago falling away beneath them. For a while, they worked in comfortable silence. Then turbulence hit, sudden and violent enough that Winnie gasped, her hands gripping the armrests. The plane bucked again, and her stomach lurched. Gideon's hand covered hers instantly, warm and steady. I've got you. I'm fine, I just breathe. It's normal. We'll be through it in a minute. But when the turbulence passed and the flight smoothed, he didn't let go. His thumb traced slow circles on the inside of her wrist, the touch casual and intimate all at once, and Winnie found she didn't want him to stop. Better? His voice was softer than she'd ever heard it. Yes, thank you. He should have released her hand then, should have gone back to his laptop and the professional distance they were supposed to maintain. Instead, he shifted to the seat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. Tell me something. What? Anything. Something not in your file. I've spent 3 days watching you work yourself to exhaustion for my company. I want to know who Winnie Kingston is when she's not trying to impress me. The request surprised her. I'm not that interesting. I doubt that very much. His hand was still on hers, and she was acutely aware of every point where their bodies touched. Why finance? She hesitated, then decided honesty was easier than deflection. My father. He worked in investment analysis, talked about markets like other people talk about art. He died when I was 19, and I guess I wanted to, I don't know, understand the thing he loved. Gideon's expression shifted, something that might have been pain flickering across his face. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. That doesn't make it hurt less. His voice was rough, with an emotion she couldn't identify. What would he think of you now? I hope he'd be proud. She turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his, the gesture bold and terrifying. What about you? Why do you do this? Do what? Build empires. Work yourself to exhaustion. Act like you don't need anyone. He was quiet for a long moment, and she thought she'd pushed too far. Then he said, "Because I'm good at it. Because it's the one thing I can control when everything else is chaos. And because, until recently, I didn't have a reason to want anything else." Until recently? His eyes met hers, storm grey and absolutely focused. "You walked into my office a week ago like you owned the place." I find that intriguing. It was almost exactly what he'd said in the interview, but the context was different now. Charged. She felt the shift, the air growing thicker. "Mr. Richester." "Gideon." His hand came up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "I told you to call me Gideon. We can't." But even as she said it, she was leaning into his touch. "I know." His hand cupped her face, thumb tracing her cheekbone. "Most people shake when I look at them. You looked back. Dangerous move, Miss Kingston." "Maybe I like danger." His sharp intake of breath was gratifying. "You should be afraid of me, Winnie." "Maybe I am." "Good. Fear keeps you sharp. But there's something else in your eyes right now, isn't there?" He leaned closer, his breath warm against her lips. "Say the word, and I'll stop. Say it, Winnie." She couldn't. God help her, she couldn't make the words come out. She wanted this. Wanted him. Had wanted him since that first interview when he'd looked at her like she was a puzzle he needed to solve. His lips hovered over hers, barely touching, a question. "That's what I thought." Then he pulled back, leaving her breathless and aching and confused. She made a sound that might have been a protest, and his smile was pained. "Not here, not yet. When I take you, I want hours, not stolen moments." His hand slid from her face to the back of her neck, holding her gaze. "You've been staring at my mouth for the past 10 minutes. See something you want?" "Yes." The admission escaped before she could stop it. "Good." He leaned in again, his lips brushing her ear. "I don't do relationships, Winnie. But I do want you. Badly. Constantly. In ways that would make you blush." Heat flooded through her. "Gideon, tell me to stop looking at you like this. Tell me you don't feel it too." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because I'd be lying." His groan was low and tortured. "You're going to destroy me." "I thought you were indestructible." "I thought so too. Until you." He pulled back enough to look at her, his expression raw in a way she'd never seen. "When we land, you'll go back to being my intern. But right now, 30,000 feet up, you're just a woman I can't stop thinking about." "What would you do?" she wanted to ask. "If I weren't your intern, if there were no rules, what would you do right now?" But she didn't have to ask because she could see it in his eyes, the hunger barely leashed. "I want to hear you say my name." His voice was rough gravel and silk. "Not Mr. Richester. Gideon, say it. Gideon." It came out breathier than she intended. Again, "Gideon." He closed his eyes like the sound caused him physical pain. "The way you say it, like it's sacred. Do you know what that does to me? Tell me." His eyes opened, pinning her. "It makes me want to forget every rule, every reason this is a bad idea. It makes me want to lay you down right here and learn every sound you make when you come apart. It makes me want to keep you, Winnie. And I don't keep people." Her breath caught. "Why not?" "Because I ruin everything I touch. Eventually, I'll ruin you too." The vulnerability in the admission broke something open in her chest. She lifted her hand to his face, tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "What if I'm willing to risk it?" "You shouldn't be." But he turned his head, pressing a kiss to her palm. "You should run far away from me." "I don't run." "No, you don't." He pulled her hand away gently, putting distance between them. "Which is why I need to be the strong one. For both of us." He moved back to his original seat, picked up his laptop, and became every inch the cold, controlled billionaire. But Winnie saw the white-knuckle grip on the armrest, the tension in his shoulders, and knew the control cost him. The rest of the flight passed in loaded silence. They landed, took a car to the meeting, and Gideon was flawless in his presentation to Stella's board. Winnie watched him command the room, saw the respect and fear he inspired, and understood why he'd built an empire. He was magnificent. They won the deal. Of course they won. Gideon Richester didn't lose. On the flight back, the sun was setting over the clouds, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose. Gideon poured her a whiskey, his fingers brushing hers as he handed over the glass. "You did well today. Thank you. That tech analysis you provided, the comparison to Cardigan's offer, it was brilliant." The praise warmed her more than the whiskey. "I learned from the best. Flattery again? Truth." He settled into the seat beside her, and this time she didn't question it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky change colors, and for a moment it felt almost like peace. "Why do you hate him?" she asked quietly. "Cardigan Thorne." Gideon's expression hardened. "That's a long story. We have time. He was my best friend, my partner. We built Richester Capital together." He took a long drink. "And then he chose greed and betrayal over everything we'd worked for. He tried to destroy the company on his way out, and I've been cleaning up his mess ever since. I'm sorry. Don't be. It taught me a valuable lesson. Never trust anyone more than you trust yourself." She heard the warning in his words. "Don't get close. Don't expect more than I can give." But she also heard the hurt beneath it, the wound that hadn't healed. "Not everyone will betray you," she said softly. His eyes met hers, searching. "You sound certain." "I am. And if I told you I was terrified of proving you wrong." Her heart cracked open. "Then I'd say you're braver than you think, because being afraid and doing it anyway is the definition of courage." He reached out, tucking hair behind her ear in a gesture that was becoming familiar. "How did you get to be so wise?" "Hard experience and expensive therapy." His laugh surprised them both. "I like you, Winnie Kingston. Just like? Don't push your luck." But his smile was genuine, transforming his face from handsome to devastating. "I have a reputation to maintain, of being heartless and impossible." "Exactly. Too late. I've seen you bring me coffee at 2 a.m. and explain market theory with actual enthusiasm. Your secret's out. Then I'll have to kill you." His tone was light, teasing, and it did dangerous things to her heart. "You'd miss me too much." "Probably." He said it like the admission surprised him. "Definitely." They landed as full dark fell over Chicago. In the car back to the office, Gideon was quiet, staring out at the city lights. When they pulled up to Richester Capital, he turned to her. "Go home, Winnie. Get some sleep. You've earned it." "What about you?" "I have work to finish." "Gideon, go." But there was no heat in the command, only exhaustion. "Please." She went, but she looked back as she walked to her car and saw him standing in the lobby, watching her through the glass. The loneliest man in Chicago, surrounded by everything he'd built and no one to share it with. The next morning everything changed. Winnie arrived at 8 to find the conference room full, Gideon at the head of the table looking like he hadn't slept. The team was presenting weekly analysis, and when her turn came, she stood and delivered her report on emerging markets in Southeast Asia. She'd barely finished her second slide when Gideon interrupted. "This analysis is incomplete." She blinked. "Sir? You've failed to account for currency fluctuation risks, and your timeline is unrealistic. Did you even run the numbers properly?" Heat flooded her face. Around the table, the other associates were carefully not looking at her. Yes, the numbers are accurate." "Are they? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks like amateur work." "Sloppy and insufficient." His voice was ice. No trace of the man who'd held her hand on the plane, who'd whispered promises against her skin. "I expect better, Miss Kingston. The rest of you, take note. This is what happens when you coast on initial impressions rather than consistent excellence. The humiliation was a physical blow. She sat down, her hands shaking, and avoided everyone's eyes as the meeting continued. When it finally, mercifully ended, she gathered her things and fled to the bathroom. She locked herself in a stall and pressed her hands to her burning face. What the hell was that? Her analysis had been solid. She knew it had been. She'd triple-checked every number. So why had he torn her apart in front of everyone? Was this his pattern? Get close, then destroy? Was she just another conquest? Another game? No. She wouldn't accept that. Not without answers. She marched to his office and didn't bother knocking. Clara called after her, but she was already through the door. Gideon looked up from his desk, surprise flickering across his face. "Miss Kingston, if last night was a mistake, fine." Her voice shook, but she kept going. "But don't you dare humiliate me in front of the team to make yourself feel better." He stood slowly, his expression unreadable. "Excuse me? You heard me. My analysis was solid, and you know it. So either tell me what I actually did wrong, or admit you're punishing me for whatever happened between us. Close the door." "No, I'm not." "Close the door." The command in his voice made her obey before she thought better of it. The second it clicked shut, he moved around the desk, and she saw the control cracking. "You think I humiliated you to make myself feel better? What else am I supposed to think? That I was protecting you?" His hand slammed down on the desk, making her jump. "If they see how I look at you, they'll tear you apart. They'll say you slept your way here, that you don't deserve your position. I've seen it happen a dozen times, and I won't let it happen to you." The explanation knocked the wind from her. How do you look at me?" He laughed, the sound bitter. "Like I'm starving, and you're the only thing that can satisfy me. Like I'd burn this entire company down if it meant having you. Is that what you wanted to hear?" "Yes." She stepped closer. "Yes, because I thought, yesterday on the plane I thought." "That I wanted you?" "I do. God. Winnie, I do. But I can't. We can't." He ran a hand through his hair, destroying its careful order. "Do you understand what would happen if we crossed that line? I'm your boss. You're an intern. It's every kind of wrong. I don't care. You should. I'm trying to do the right thing here. By humiliating me? By protecting you from the vultures who would destroy your career before it starts." He cupped her face in his hands, and the tenderness of the gesture contrasted with the intensity in his eyes. "If anyone else had spoken to me the way you do, I'd destroy them. But when you do it, God help me, it turns me on." Heat pooled low in her belly. "Gideon, I can't be what you need. I can't be soft or kind or whatever it is women want from relationships. All I know how to do is take and control and possess. Maybe that's exactly what I need." His sharp inhale was audible. "Don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting. I know what I want. And what's that? You." For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then he kissed her, hard and desperate, and nothing like the almost kiss on the plane. This was hunger unleashed, his hands in her hair, her back against the door, his body pressing her into the wood. She gasped against his mouth, and he swallowed the sound, kissing her deeper until she forgot where she was, forgot everything except the taste of him and the hard muscle under her hands, and the way he was kissing her like she was oxygen. Then he wrenched himself away, breathing hard, his eyes wild. "We can't. Not here. Not like this." "Then where? When?" She was proud, her voice didn't shake. "I don't know." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I just know that if I don't stop now, I won't be able to. And you deserve better than being taken against a door in my office like I can't control myself around you. What if I don't want you to control yourself?" His groan was tortured. "You're killing me." "Good. Now you know how I feel." He laughed despite himself, pulling back to look at her. His thumb traced her swollen lips. "Your pulse is racing." I can see it here. He touched her neck, and I want to taste it. So taste it, Winnie. Warning and plea all at once. I'm not afraid of you, Gideon, and I'm not going anywhere. You should be afraid. I ruin everything I touch. Then ruin me. She grabbed his tie, holding him in place. I'm a grown woman making a choice. Stop trying to protect me from yourself and trust that I know what I'm doing. Do you? Because I don't. I haven't known what I'm doing since you walked through that door with fire in your eyes. She kissed him this time, softer, a promise instead of a demand. When she pulled back, his eyes were closed like he was memorizing the moment. Tonight, she whispered, after work, your place or mine, I don't care, but tonight we stop fighting this. He opened his eyes, and the heat in them could have melted steel. My place. 9 o'clock. And Winnie? Yes. When you walk through my door tonight, there's no going back. I need you to be sure. I'm sure. Then God help us both. He released her, stepping back and visibly pulling his control into place. Now, get out of here before I forget every reason we should wait. She left, her heart racing, her lips still tingling. Behind her, she heard something hit the wall, hard, and smiled. The rest of the day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every time she saw Gideon in the hallway or in a meeting, the air between them crackled with anticipation. He didn't speak to her directly, didn't look at her for longer than professional courtesy required, but she felt his awareness like a physical touch. At 8:30, she went home to change, stood in front of her closet for 10 minutes before accepting that she was overthinking. She wasn't dressing to impress, she was dressing to be undressed. The thought sent heat through her. She settled on a simple black dress and heels, left her hair down, and forced herself not to reapply her lipstick for the 3rd time. His penthouse was in a building that made Richester Capital look modest. The elevator required a key card to access the top floor, and when the doors opened directly into his apartment, Winnie's breath caught. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, the lights a carpet of stars. The furniture was minimal and expensive, all clean lines and dark leather. And standing by those windows, tie gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, was Gideon. He turned when he heard the elevator, and the look on his face made her forget how to breathe. You came. Did you think I wouldn't? I hoped, but I wouldn't have blamed you for running. He moved toward her, predatory and focused. Last chance, Winnie. Walk away now, and we can pretend this never happened. Stay, and I can't promise to be gentle. I don't want gentle. His eyes flashed. Don't say things you don't mean. I mean it. She closed the distance between them, laying a hand on his chest. His heart was racing as fast as hers. I've thought about this, about you, every night since I walked into your office. I don't want gentle or soft or careful. I want you, exactly as you are. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me. The last thread of his control snapped. She saw it happen, saw the moment he stopped fighting and just let go. He pulled her to him, kissing her with a hunger that stole her breath. His hands were everywhere, in her hair, tracing her spine, pulling her closer like he couldn't get enough. She gasped against his mouth, and he walked her backward until she hit the window, the glass cool against her back. I've fantasized about this, he said roughly, his mouth moving to her neck. You, here, looking at me like that. Do you have any idea how beautiful you are? Tell me. She arched into him, her hands finding the buttons of his shirt. Beautiful, brilliant, infuriating. Each word was punctuated with a kiss. I've wanted you from the first moment, and it's been torture keeping my hands to myself. Then stop keeping them to yourself. He groaned, his hands sliding up her thighs, taking the hem of her dress with them. I want to take my time with you, learn every inch, every sound you make. We have all night. All night isn't enough. I'll need days, weeks. His teeth scraped her collarbone, and she made a sound that was half gasp, half moan. Yes, that sound. I want to hear it again." Somehow they made it to his bedroom, leaving a trail of clothes behind them. He laid her on his bed, the city lights painting patterns across their skin, and looked at her like she was art. "You're so beautiful when you let go. I want to see it again, and again." "Gideon, please." "Please what?" "Tell me what you want. You. Just you." He kissed her deeply, slowly, taking his time despite the urgency she could feel in every line of his body. His hands mapped her skin like he was memorizing her, and when she reached for him, he caught her wrists gently. "Not yet. Tonight is about you. That's not fair." "I don't play fair. You should know that by now." His mouth moved lower, and coherent thought became impossible. Later, much later, when they were tangled together in his sheets and the city had quieted into early morning, he traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "Stay," he whispered. "Tonight, tomorrow, I don't want to let you go yet." She curled into him, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "I'm not going anywhere." "You should." "I'm not good at this, Winnie. Relationships, feelings, all of it. I'll mess this up." She lifted her head to look at him. In the dim light, he looked younger, vulnerable in a way he never allowed at the office. "What if we mess it up together? I can't promise you forever. I don't know if I'm capable of it. I'm not asking for forever. I'm asking for now, for honesty, for this." She gestured between them. "Whatever this is." He pulled her closer, kissing the top of her head. "I ruin everything I touch. Eventually, I'll ruin you too. Maybe I'm already ruined. Maybe I don't care. Then stay ruined with me." His arms tightened around her, "At least for tonight." She fell asleep listening to his heartbeat, and for the first time in years, felt safe. But across town, in a hotel room overlooking the same skyline, Cardigan Thorne smiled at his phone. The message he'd just sent was simple. "Phase 1 complete. She's exactly where we need her." 2 weeks later, Winnie had settled into a rhythm that felt surreal. By day, she was the consummate professional, Gideon's intern who worked harder than anyone else and earned her place through merit. By night, she was his. They kept it hidden, maintained careful distance at the office, but the moment they were alone, the masks came off. She learned him slowly, learned that he took his coffee black with 1 sugar, that he had nightmares he never talked about, that he was surprisingly gentle when he thought she was sleeping. Learned that beneath the ice-cold CEO was a man who'd been hurt and taught himself not to need anyone. But cracks were showing in their careful facade, the way he watched her in meetings with barely concealed hunger, the way she found excuses to bring him files just to be near him, the way Clara had started giving her knowing looks. It all came to a head at the annual Investor Gala at the Art Institute of Chicago. Winnie wore midnight blue silk that clung in all the right places, and when she walked into the museum's grand hall, she felt Gideon's gaze like a physical touch. He was across the room, surrounded by investors and admirers, looking devastating in a tuxedo. He saw her, and for a moment, everything else faded. Then someone stepped into her line of sight. A man, tall and handsome in a way that was almost too perfect, with dark hair and eyes that sparkled with charm. He held out a champagne flute. "You look like you could use this." "Thank you." She accepted it, cautious. "Cardigan Thorne." He offered his hand, and her stomach dropped. "And you must be the brilliant Winnie Kingston everyone's talking about." She shook his hand because refusing would be rude, but she wanted to wipe it on her dress afterward. This was the man who'd betrayed Gideon, who'd tried to destroy everything he'd built. "Mr. Thorne." "Please, Cardigan, we're not at war here." His smile was disarming. "At least, not you and I. Dance with me?" Across the room, she saw Gideon. He was still surrounded by people, still smiling that polished smile, but his knuckles were white around his champagne glass. Their eyes met, and she saw the warning. The possession, the barely leashed fury. She should refuse Cardigan, should make an excuse and walk away. But something in Gideon's expression, That assumption that she'd obey sparked her temper. I'd love to. The dance floor was crowded enough that they wouldn't be too conspicuous. Cardigan was a good dancer. She'd give him that. He held her at a respectful distance and made pleasant small talk about the art and the weather and Chicago in spring. Then he said, "You're sleeping with him, aren't you? I can tell by the way he's staring at me like he wants to commit murder." She missed a step. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Of course you don't. Tell me, has he mentioned me at all? What we used to be to each other? He said you were business partners. Is that all?" Cardigan's laugh was bitter. "We were brothers, Winnie. Best friends since college. We built that company together, dreamed together, bled together, and then he decided he wanted it all for himself. That's not what happened. Isn't it? Ask him about Isolde. Ask him what he did to the woman I loved." He leaned closer, his voice dropping. "He'll ruin you, sweetheart. It's what he does. He used someone I cared about and destroyed her. You think you're different? You're just another piece on his board." The words hit like punches, finding every insecurity she'd tried to bury. Was she different? Or was she naive, believing that someone like Gideon Richester could actually care about her? The song ended. She pulled away from Cardigan and walked outside onto the terrace, needing air. The Chicago night was cool against her heated skin, the city sprawling below like a promise or a threat. She heard him before she saw him. Footsteps deliberate and measured, then Gideon's voice, low and dangerous. "Stay away from him." She turned. He stood in the doorway, backlit by the gala's golden light, and he looked furious. "You don't own me, Gideon. I know that." He moved onto the terrace, the door closing behind him. "But he's dangerous, and I don't want him anywhere near you." "Why?" "Because he might tell me the truth about what you did." "What I did?" His laugh was harsh. "What did he tell you? That I betrayed him, stole from him, destroyed his life?" "He said you used someone he loved." Gideon's expression went carefully blank. "Is that what he said? Is it true?" "It's complicated. That's not an answer." "The truth is complicated, Winnie. It's not black and white, good and bad. It's messy and painful, and I've spent 3 years trying to put it behind me." She stepped closer, her heart aching at the pain in his voice. "Then tell me, help me understand. Why? So you can judge me? Decide I'm the monster he says I am? So I can know you, all of you, not just the parts you think I can handle." They stood facing each other, the space between them charged with everything unsaid. Then Gideon's control cracked, and he moved, backing her against the stone railing, his hands on either side of her, caging her in. "You want to know why I hate him? Why the thought of his hands on you makes me want to break things?" His voice was rough with emotion. "Because you're mine, even if I can't say it out loud. Because you've gotten under my skin, and I don't know how to get you out, and I don't think I want to." Her breath caught. "Gideon, do you have any idea what it's like to watch you smile at another man when all I want is to drag you somewhere private and remind you who you belong to?" His forehead pressed to hers. "I'm trying to protect you by keeping distance in public, but right now, I don't give a damn who sees us. You are mine. Then prove it." His kiss was claiming possessive, nothing gentle about it. She met him with equal fervor, her hands fisting in his jacket. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "The way you look in that dress should be illegal. I've been imagining taking it off you all night. So take me home and do it. I can't leave yet. Appearances. Investors." But his eyes said he wanted to. "Then later. After. I'll wait for you." "You shouldn't. You should run far away from me and whatever mess I'm dragging you into. I told you I don't run." She touched his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. "Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me I'm the only one losing my mind." "You know I can't." He captured her hand, pressing a kiss to her palm. "If he touches you again, I'll make him regret he ever came back to Chicago." The possessiveness should have annoyed her. Instead, it sent heat spiraling through her. "I can take care of myself. I know. It's one of the things I love about you." The word hung between them. Love. He'd said it casually, maybe didn't even realize he'd said it, but Winnie heard it like a bell. "Gideon, I should get back inside." He stepped away, the mask sliding back into place. "Stay away from Cardigan, Winnie. Please. If you trust me at all, trust me on this." She watched him go, her heart a confused tangle. She believed him, believed that Cardigan was dangerous. But she also knew there were pieces of this story she didn't have, secrets Gideon was keeping that might matter. Inside, she found the bathroom and was repairing her lipstick when Clara appeared. "Having fun? It's a lovely event." Clara leaned against the counter. "Cardigan Thorne is here. I noticed." "Stay away from him, honey. That man is poison wrapped in charm. Everyone keeps telling me that. But no one will tell me why." Clara studied her, then seemed to make a decision. 3 years ago, Gideon and Cardigan were building this company together. They were best friends, inseparable. Then Cardigan met a woman named Isolde. She was beautiful, smart, and working for their biggest competitor. Winnie's stomach clenched. She was a spy. Corporate espionage. Cardigan didn't know, or didn't want to know. By the time Gideon figured it out, she'd stolen enough information to nearly destroy them. Gideon confronted Cardigan, told him to choose. Cardigan chose her. Clara's voice softened. It broke Gideon's heart. Not the business betrayal that he could handle, but losing his best friend, his brother, that nearly destroyed him. What happened to Isolde? She disappeared with the information and a lot of money from Cardigan's personal accounts. Turns out she'd been using him all along. Cardigan lost everything, his company, his fortune, his friend. And instead of accepting responsibility, he blamed Gideon. The pieces were falling into place. He wants revenge. He wants to hurt Gideon the way he was hurt. And you, sweetheart, are the perfect weapon. Winnie felt cold. I'm not. Gideon and I aren't. Please. Clara's smile was kind. I've worked for that man for 8 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Which means Cardigan has seen it too. When Winnie returned to the gala, Cardigan was waiting. There you are. I was hoping we could finish our conversation. I don't think that's a good idea. 5 minutes. I promise I'll behave. He gestured to a quiet corner. Please, there are things you should know. Against her better judgment, she followed. Cardigan handed her another champagne flute, which she didn't drink from. I know what Gideon told you about me, that I'm the villain, the betrayer. And maybe from his perspective, that's true. But there's another side to this story. I'm listening. Isolde wasn't what he thinks. Yes, she worked for a competitor, but she came to me because she'd discovered illegal trading practices they were doing. She wanted help, wanted to expose them. I believed her. His voice roughened. I loved her. And? Gideon thought she was using me. He had her investigated, dug into her past, found things that looked bad out of context. Then he went to our competitors and made a deal. He'd give them Isolde if they backed off Richester Capital. Winnie's breath caught. No, he wouldn't. Ask him. Ask him what happened to Isolde, where she is now. Because I've been looking for 3 years, and it's like she vanished off the face of the earth. Cardigan's eyes were hard. Your Gideon isn't a hero. Winnie, he's ruthless, and when you're no longer useful to him, he'll discard you the same way. She wanted to argue, to defend Gideon, but doubt had taken root. She'd seen his ruthlessness in business. Was it so hard to believe he'd be ruthless in his personal life too? Why tell me this? Because you seem like a good person who's gotten in over her head. And because I don't want to see someone else destroyed by Gideon Richester's obsession with control. He touched her shoulder gently. Be careful, Winnie. That's all I'm saying. She left the gala early, claiming a headache. In the car home, her phone buzzed. Gideon, where are you? I left. I wasn't feeling well. A pause. What did he say to you? The truth? Winnie. I need time to think, Gideon. About us. About all of this. I need, with a rate vinine. Don't do this. Don't let him get in your head. Maybe he should be in my head. Maybe I've been naive, thinking this could work. If you believe that, then you don't know me at all. His voice was raw. Come to the penthouse. Let me explain. Not tonight. I'm sorry. She ended the call before he could argue. But as she lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, she couldn't shake the image of Gideon standing alone at the gala, watching her leave, looking more lost than any billionaire had a right to be. Her phone lit up with a text. Just one word. Please. She stared at it for a long time before turning off the phone. Tomorrow. She'd deal with all of this tomorrow. Tonight, she needed to think. But thinking only led her in circles, always back to the same question. Who was Gideon Richester, really? The man who held her like she was precious, or the ruthless CEO who'd do anything to win? Maybe he was both. Maybe that was what scared her most. The gala continued around them, a glittering display of Chicago's elite, but Winnie barely noticed. She made her way through the crowd, needing space, needing air that didn't smell like expensive perfume and lies. Near the museum's grand staircase, she saw Clara standing alone, checking her phone with a frown. Before Winnie could reach her, Cardigan appeared at Clara's elbow. Even from a distance, Winnie could see the shift in Clara's posture, the wariness that replaced her usual calm efficiency. Tell Gideon the past always catches up, Cardigan said, his voice carrying just enough for Winnie to hear. His smile was all charm and venom, and this time she'll be the one who pays. Clara's expression went cold. You need to leave. I'm just getting started. He walked away, and Clara's eyes found Winnie across the space. The look of warning in them was unmistakable. Winnie left shortly after, her head spinning with too many versions of the truth. In the cab home, Chicago blurred past her window, all neon and shadow, beautiful and dangerous like the man she'd fallen for. Her phone buzzed repeatedly. Gideon. She let it ring. The next morning, a Saturday, she tried to lose herself in mundane tasks. Laundry, grocery shopping, anything to quiet the questions circling her mind. She just returned to her apartment, arms full of bags, when she noticed the package. Plain brown paper, no return address, sitting in front of her door like a bomb waiting to detonate. Her name was printed in block letters across the top. Nothing else. Inside her apartment, she set down the groceries and stared at the package. Every instinct screamed not to open it. But her hands were already tearing the paper, revealing a thick manila folder. The documents inside made her sink onto her couch, the breath leaving her lungs in a rush. Financial records, patent applications, email chains, all detailing the development of an investment algorithm 3 years ago by Gideon Richester and Cardigan Thorne. The same algorithm that had made Richester Capital billions and cemented Gideon's reputation as a genius. But that wasn't what made her hands shake. Buried in the technical specifications was a name she knew better than her own, Dr. Marcus Kingston, her father. Listed as primary researcher, the architect of the mathematical models the entire algorithm was built on. Her father, who'd worked for Richester Capital's research division. Her father, who died 2 years ago in a car accident on a rainy October night. The police report was there too. Single car crash, lost control on a wet road, no witnesses, ruled an accident. But there were notes in the margins, handwritten, questioning the brake line failure, the convenient timing, the fact that Marcus Kingston had scheduled a meeting with the SEC for the following week, a meeting he never made. And then, the final page. A photocopy of an email from her father to Gideon, dated 1 week before his death. We need to talk about the algorithm's true origins. I can't stay silent anymore. Cardigan deserves credit, and so does my team. If you won't make this right, I'll have no choice but to go public." The note fell from the envelope, landing face up on her coffee table. Handwritten, simple, devastating. "Ask Gideon what really happened to your father." The room tilted. Winnie pressed a hand to her mouth, fighting nausea. This couldn't be real. Gideon wouldn't, he couldn't have. But the evidence was right there, damning and clear. He'd known exactly who she was when she walked into his office. The job, the attention, the nights in his bed, had all of it been manipulation, a way to keep her close, to monitor what she knew. Had she been sleeping with the man who killed her father? She was moving before the thought fully formed, grabbing her keys, not bothering with a jacket. The cab ride to Richester Capital took 17 minutes that felt like hours. The building was quiet on a Saturday, just security in the lobby who waved her through. They knew her now. Gideon's intern. His girlfriend, though no one said it out loud. His lover. His fool. The elevator ride to the 45th floor was too fast and too slow all at once. She burst through his office doors without knocking. He was there. Because of course he was. Standing at his windows in jeans and a black sweater that made him look younger, more human. He turned when he heard her, and his expression transformed with relief. "Thank God, I've been calling you all night. I was worried." He moved toward her, then stopped when he saw her face. "What's wrong?" She threw the folder at him, papers scattered across his pristine floor like accusations. "Tell me you didn't know who I was." He looked down at the documents, and she watched the blood drain from his face. "Winnie, tell me you didn't know Marcus Kingston was my father when you hired me." His silence was an answer. "Tell me." Her voice cracked, raw with betrayal. "Tell me you didn't use me. If it's not what you think, then what is it? Because from where I'm standing it looks like you knew exactly who I was, hired me anyway, and then, what? Seduced me to keep me quiet? To make sure I didn't ask questions about what really happened to my dad? No." He moved toward her, hands raised like she was a wild thing that might bolt. "God, no. Winnie, I would never. You lied to me. Every day, every night, every time you touched me, you were lying." "I didn't lie. I didn't tell you everything." "That's the same thing." She was shouting now, tears streaming down her face. Was any of it real? Or was I just another deal to close? The hit landed. She saw it in the way he flinched, the way his carefully constructed control cracked. Don't say that. What we have is real. How can I believe anything you say? You've been lying since the moment I walked through that door." She grabbed one of the documents, the email from her father. "He threatened to expose you, to tell the truth about the algorithm, about what you did to Cardigan. And 2 weeks later, he was dead. So tell me, Gideon, tell me the truth for once in your goddamned life. Did you kill my father?" The question hung between them like a guillotine blade. Gideon's face went white, then grey, and for a moment she thought he might actually be sick. "What? No. Jesus Christ, Winnie, no. I could never." He ran a hand through his hair, destroying its order. "Your father was. He was a good man, a brilliant man. I respected him more than almost anyone. But you killed him anyway." "I didn't kill him." The roar echoed through the empty office. He took a breath, visibly fighting for control. "I didn't. I swear on everything I have I didn't hurt your father." "Then who did? Because he's dead, Gideon. And according to these documents, you had every reason to want him silenced." "It's not. The situation was complicated. Stop saying that. Stop hiding behind excuses and just tell me the truth." "You want the truth?" His voice was harsh, wounded. "Fine. Yes, I knew who you were when you applied. Yes, I hired you anyway. but not to manipulate you or keep you quiet. I hired you because I owed your father a debt I could never repay, and taking care of his daughter was the only way I knew how to try. That's convenient. It's the truth. Your father was working on the algorithm with me, not with Cardigan. Cardigan had already left the company by then, had already tried to destroy everything we built. Marcus and I were developing something new, something revolutionary, and he was God. He was so proud of it. Proud of you. He talked about you all the time. The detail hit her like a fist. Her father had talked about her to Gideon. Before she ever knew Gideon existed. He showed me your photo. Gideon continued, his voice softer now. Told me you were at Columbia, studying finance, that you were brilliant and ambitious and going to change the world. And when you walked into my office 6 weeks ago, I recognized you immediately. You have his eyes. She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. But the evidence was right there, scattered across his floor. If you didn't kill him, then who did? I don't know. The admission sounded like it cost him. The police ruled it an accident. There was no evidence of foul play, just questions that were never answered. I've had private investigators looking into it for 2 years, and they've found nothing concrete. But you suspect someone. His jaw tightened. Yes, Cardigan. I can't prove it, but your father discovered something in the weeks before he died. He found evidence that Cardigan was trying to steal the new algorithm, sell it to competitors. Marcus confronted him, tried to mediate. 2 weeks later, he was dead. Winnie sank into a chair, her legs giving out. Why didn't you tell me? Because I couldn't prove it. Because accusing Cardigan of murder without evidence would have destroyed your father's reputation, made it look like he was involved in corporate espionage. I couldn't do that to him. Or to you. So you stayed silent. I've been trying to take Cardigan down for 2 years. Legally, carefully, building a case that would stick. And then you walked through my door, and I saw Marcus in your face, and I couldn't breathe. He moved closer, dropping to his knees in front of her chair, so they were eye level. I never meant to fall for you. I was going to give you the internship, help you succeed, and keep my distance. But you challenged me in that interview, looked at me like I didn't scare you, and I was lost. You should have told me. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry, Winnie. But everything between us, every moment, every word, it's been real. The realest thing in my life. 9-1-1. She wanted to touch him, to believe him, but the betrayal was too fresh. I need time. I need to think. Don't go. Please. Let me explain everything. Show you what I've found. Let me. I can't. She stood, and he rose with her. I can't look at you right now without seeing all the lies, without wondering what else you haven't told me. Winnie. He reached for her, and she stepped back. The hurt on his face was devastating, but she couldn't let it sway her. Give me time. That's all I'm asking. She left him standing in his office, surrounded by scattered papers and broken trust. In the elevator, she let herself cry, great heaving sobs that shook her whole body. The doors opened on the lobby, and she walked out into the grey Chicago morning. A black town car was waiting at the curb. The window rolled down, revealing Cardigan Thorne's concerned face. Get in, he said gently. I'll tell you the truth about what Gideon did, and why your father died. She hesitated for only a moment before opening the door. Cardigan took her to a small cafe in Lincoln Park, far from the financial district in Gideon's empire. He ordered coffee she didn't drink and sat across from her with an expression of sympathy that felt practiced. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, he began. I sent you those documents because you deserve to know the truth. You sent them. I've been investigating your father's death since it happened. Marcus Kingston was a good man who got caught in the crossfire of Gideon's ambition. He leaned forward, earnest. I know what Gideon told you, that I'm the villain, that I betrayed him, that I'm dangerous, But Winnie, he's rewritten history to make himself the hero. Tell me what really happened. 3 years ago, Gideon and I were partners, best friends since college, brothers in everything but blood. We started Richester Capital together, split everything 50-50. We were going to change the world. His voice carried real pain. Then we started developing the algorithm. It was going to be our masterpiece, a system that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy. We worked with a team of researchers, including your father. Winnie's coffee sat cooling in front of her. Go on. The algorithm was based on your father's mathematical models. Marcus was the genius behind it, but Gideon wanted all the credit. When I insisted we acknowledge the research team, share the profits fairly, Gideon refused. He said business was about winning, not about being fair. Cardigan's hands tightened around his cup. We fought about it for months. Your father sided with me, said it was unethical to claim sole credit, and Gideon, he became obsessed, paranoid, started accusing me of trying to steal the company, of conspiring against him. Is that true? No, I just wanted to do the right thing. But Gideon, he doesn't see the world that way. For him, there's only winners and losers, and he'll do anything to win. Cardigan's voice dropped. He manipulated the patents, pushed me out of the company using legal technicalities I didn't see coming, took everything we'd built and claimed it as his own. I lost my company, my reputation, my best friend. What about Isolde? The woman Gideon says you chose over the company? Something flickered in Cardigan's expression. Isolde she was someone I cared about. Gideon used her against me, twisted the relationship into something it wasn't. Made it look like corporate espionage when really she was just someone who loved me. Where is she now? I don't know. His voice roughened convincingly. After everything fell apart, she disappeared. I've been looking for her for 3 years, and it's like she never existed. Which is convenient for Gideon's narrative, isn't it? No witness to contradict his version of events. Winnie felt dizzy with competing truths. What about my father? 2 weeks before he died, Marcus came to me. He discovered that Gideon was planning to take the algorithm public without crediting the research team. Your father was going to expose the truth, file a complaint with the SEC. He had documentation, a journal where he'd recorded everything. Cardigan met her eyes. 3 days before his scheduled meeting with the SEC, his brakes failed on a rainy night. The police called it an accident. I know it was murder. You're saying Gideon killed him. I'm saying your father was about to destroy Gideon's empire, and then he conveniently died. I can't prove Gideon did it personally, but he's capable of anything to protect what he's built. Anything. The implications settled over her like a shroud. Could Gideon really be a murderer? The man who held her like she was precious, who whispered her name like a prayer? Or was that all performance, manipulation by someone who saw people as pieces on a board? Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve better than him, Winnie. Someone who won't use you, who won't lie to you, someone who'll treat you right. He touched her hand across the table. And because, with your help, we can finally bring him to justice. She pulled her hand back. What do you mean? Your father's journal. The documentation he kept. I think Gideon has it, hidden somewhere in his files. If you could help me find it, we could expose what he did. We could make sure your father's death meant something. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong, that Cardigan's story was too smooth, too perfectly designed to hit every doubt and fear. But what if he was right? What if Gideon was everything Cardigan said? I need to think about it. Of course. Take all the time you need. He pulled out a business card, slid it across the table. But Winnie, be careful. If Gideon thinks you're a threat, if he believes you know too much, you could end up like your father. The words were meant as warning, but landed like threat. She took the card and left, her world tilted on its axis. Outside, she walked aimlessly through the city. Chicago felt different now, like she was seeing it through a filter of paranoia and doubt. Her phone buzzed constantly. Gideon. She turned it off. By evening, she was exhausted and no closer to answers. She returned to her apartment and collapsed on the couch, staring at Cardigan's business card like it might reveal the truth through sheer force of will. Then she remembered. Clara. Gideon's assistant had been with him for 8 years, had seen everything. If anyone knew the real story, it would be her. Winnie grabbed her phone, turned it back on, and scrolled past 17 missed calls from Gideon to find Clara's number. The older woman answered on the second ring. "I was wondering when you'd call. I need to know the truth. About my father, about Cardigan, about all of it." A pause. "Come to my place. I have something Gideon should have shown you months ago." Clara lived in a vintage brownstone in Wicker Park, all exposed brick and hardwood floors and the warm chaos of a lived-in home. She let Winnie in, handed her tea, and disappeared into a home office. When she returned, she was holding a flash drive. "Gideon is going to kill me for this," Clara said, settling onto the couch. "But you deserve the truth, and he's too damn proud to give it to you himself." She plugged the drive into her laptop, and Winnie watched as files opened. Documents, videos, audio recordings. A comprehensive investigation spanning 3 years. "This is everything Gideon's investigators found about your father's death," Clara explained. "Everything he couldn't prove in court, but knows in his gut, is true." The first file was a background check on Isolde Thorne. Winnie's eyes caught on the last name. Thorne? She's related to Cardigan? His sister. Not his lover, not a corporate spy from a competitor, his sister. Clara clicked through to a family tree. Their family lost everything 20 years ago when their father's company was destroyed by corporate raiders. They've been planning revenge ever since, targeting successful finance companies. Why Gideon? Because Richester Capital was the perfect target. Young, growing, vulnerable. Cardigan befriended Gideon in college, spent years building trust. It was all a long game. The next files showed financial records. Money flowing from Cardigan's accounts to offshore holdings, information being sold to competitors, systematic sabotage of Richester Capital deals. Gideon discovered it 3 years ago, Clara continued. Not all at once, but piece by piece. The betrayal nearly destroyed him. Cardigan wasn't just his business partner. He was the brother Gideon never had. Finding out it was all a lie, that their entire friendship was manipulation, it broke something in him. Winnie's throat tightened. She'd seen glimpses of that brokenness in Gideon's eyes when he talked about trust, about letting people close. What about Isolde? She was the one doing the actual espionage. Cardigan would wine and dine potential marks, while Isolde stole data, bribed employees, set up shell companies. When Gideon figured it out and confronted Cardigan, they fled. Together. Brother and sister. Partners in crime. But Cardigan said she disappeared, that Gideon made her vanish. He's lying. She's currently living in the Cayman Islands under an assumed name. We have photos from last month. Clara clicked through to surveillance images of a woman on a beach, laughing, very much alive and free. The evidence was damning, but it still didn't answer the crucial question. My father. Clara's expression softened with genuine sorrow. This is the hard part. She opened a video file. Security footage from Richester Capital's parking garage, time-stamped 2 years ago, 3 days before Marcus Kingston died. Grainy, black and white, but clear enough. A figure in a hoodie approaching a sedan, looking around, then crouching by the front wheel, working on something for 90 seconds before walking away. We sent this to forensics experts. They confirmed the figure is tampering with the brake line. Winnie's hands were shaking. Can you see who it is? Watch. Clara fast-forwarded to the moment the figure stood and turned toward a camera, enhanced the image. The face that appeared made Winnie gasp. Cardigan Thorne. No, he told me Gideon. He's been lying to you from the start, sweetheart. Your father discovered that Cardigan was trying to steal the new algorithm, the one Marcus had been developing with Gideon after Cardigan left. Marcus confronted him, tried to reason with him, but Cardigan couldn't let him expose the truth. So he staged an accident. Tears streamed down Winnie's face. Why didn't Gideon go to the police? He tried, but this footage alone wasn't enough. Good lawyers could argue it showed someone near the car, not necessarily tampering with it, and Cardigan had an alibi, bought and paid for. Without more evidence, the police wouldn't touch it. Making it public would have meant explaining why Cardigan targeted your father, which would have required revealing that Marcus was meeting with people about the algorithm dispute. It would have destroyed your father's reputation, made him look complicit in corporate espionage. So Gideon stayed silent to protect my dad's name, and to protect you. You were 19, grieving, dealing with your mother's health crisis. Adding a murder investigation that went nowhere would have destroyed you. So Gideon buried his guilt and his rage, hired investigators, and spent 2 years building an airtight case against Cardigan, a case that would stick. Clara clicked through more files. Text messages, emails, financial transfers. Cardigan's been planning this for months. He knew Gideon cared about you, saw it as the perfect revenge. Get close to you. Turn you against Gideon, use you to destroy him the way Cardigan was destroyed. The final file made Winnie's blood run cold. Text messages from Cardigan to an unknown number from earlier that day. She trusts me now. Phase 2 begins tonight. Gideon will be destroyed by morning. What's Phase 2? I don't know, but nothing good. Clara closed the laptop and took Winnie's hands. Gideon loved your father like a mentor. He's been hunting Cardigan ever since, trying to get justice for Marcus. And then you walked through his door, and he saw Marcus in your eyes, and you terrified him. Why? Because for the first time in 3 years, he had something to lose besides his company. He had you, and he knew Cardigan would use that against him. Winnie stood abruptly, pacing the small living room. Everything made horrible sense now. Gideon's protectiveness, his reluctance to go public with their relationship, his fear that he'd ruin her. He hadn't been manipulating her. He'd been trying to keep her safe from a threat she hadn't even known existed. And she'd walked right into Cardigan's trap. I have to warn him, if Cardigan's planning something. Go. I'll send you copies of everything. Clara stood, gripping her shoulders. And Winnie? Gideon's not perfect. He's controlling and stubborn and emotionally constipated. But he loves you. I've worked for that man for 8 years, and I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Like you're the air he breathes. Winnie was already grabbing her coat. Thank you for this, for everything. She ran. The cab ride to Gideon's penthouse took forever and no time at all. It was 3 in the morning when she burst from the elevator into his apartment. He was there, still awake, sitting on the floor by his windows with an empty whiskey bottle beside him. He looked wrecked, hair disheveled, shirt half unbuttoned, eyes red-rimmed. When he saw her, he stood so fast he swayed. Winnie, I know everything. She crossed to him, and the hope that flared in his expression nearly broke her. I know about Cardigan, about Isolde, about what really happened to my father. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. That I walked out. He cut her off by kissing her, hard and desperate, and tasting like whiskey and grief. When he pulled back, his hands were shaking as they framed her face. I didn't kill him, he said hoarsely. I swear to you, I would never. I know. And we don't have time because Cardigan is planning something tonight. I don't know what, but... Gideon's phone rang, cutting her off. He looked at the screen and went pale. It's him. Answer it. Put it on speaker. Gideon accepted the call, and Cardigan's voice filled the penthouse, smooth and poisonous. Hello, old friend. I hope I'm not interrupting anything. What do you want, Cardigan? Just to chat. To reminisce about old times. And to give you a choice. His tone hardened. Meet me at the original Richester Capital office in 1 hour. Alone. Or, I release documents to the SEC that will have you arrested for securities fraud, insider trading, and corporate espionage by sunrise. Fabricated documents. Prove it. You'll be tied up in legal battles for years. Your company will crash, your reputation destroyed. Everything you've built, gone. Gideon's jaw clenched. Fine, I'll meet you. Oh, and Gideon? I have someone watching Winnie's mother at Northwestern Memorial. Lovely woman, so brave fighting her illness. It would be tragic if something happened during her treatment. So come alone, or Mommy Dearest has a very unfortunate accident. The line went dead. Winnie felt like she'd been doused in ice water. He's threatening my mother. I'm going. Gideon was already moving, grabbing his jacket. You stay here where it's safe. Absolutely not. Winnie, he's dangerous. Which is exactly why I'm not letting you walk into his trap alone. We end this together, or not at all. He turned to face her, and the fear in his eyes was raw. If something happens to you because of me, I'll never forgive myself. She crossed to him, gripping his face in her hands. Then don't let anything happen. Fight for us, Gideon, the way I'm fighting for you. He kissed her desperately, like he was memorizing the taste of her. I love you. I should have said it weeks ago. I love you, Winnie Kingston, and I'm done pretending I don't. The words she'd been waiting to hear. I love you too. Which is why we're doing this together. His phone buzzed. A text from Clara. Got your message. On my way with everything we need. Don't go in without backup. 10 minutes later, Clara arrived with a laptop bag and a grim expression. The FBI has been building a case against Cardigan for months. I called in a favor. They'll have a team outside the building, but they need evidence. A confession. She handed Winnie a small device. It's a wire. Audio and GPS tracking. Get him talking. Get him to admit what he's done. The Bureau will handle the rest. Winnie looked at the device, then at Gideon. His expression was torn between pride and terror. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. For my father. For us. For everyone he's hurt. She let Clara help her with the wire, hiding it under her blouse. Let's finish this. The original Richester Capital office was in a converted warehouse in the West Loop, abandoned for 2 years since Gideon had moved the company to the glass tower downtown. They arrived at 4:30 in the morning to find the building dark, one door unlocked. An invitation. The FBI is in position, Clara said from the car, her laptop showing heat signatures. 2 people inside, Cardigan and one other. Isolde, Gideon said grimly. Of course. They entered together, hands linked, and found Cardigan waiting in what used to be the main conference room. He was sitting on the edge of the table, gun resting casually beside him. When he saw Winnie, his expression darkened. I said alone, Gideon. You threatened her mother. She has every right to be here. Fair enough. Cardigan picked up the gun, not quite pointing it but making his control clear. I've been waiting 3 years for this moment. 3 years of watching you have everything I should have had. The company, the success, the reputation. Do you have any idea what that's like? You tried to destroy me first, Gideon said calmly. You used our friendship as cover while you stole and sabotaged. Don't pretend you're the victim here. I am the victim. You took everything from me. You took everything from yourself when you chose revenge over integrity. Cardigan's laugh was bitter. Integrity, that's rich coming from you. Tell me, Gideon, have you told Winnie what really happened to her father yet? The whole truth? She knows you killed him. Do I? A woman's voice came from the shadows. Isolde Thorne stepped into the light, and Winnie saw the family resemblance immediately. Same dark hair, same sharp features. Because the way I remember it, Marcus Kingston died because he was collateral damage in your war with my brother. He died because you two were stealing from me, and he caught you. He died because you're so paranoid and controlling that you destroy anyone who gets in your way, Cardigan shot back. Just like you destroyed our partnership, our friendship, everything we built together. Winnie could feel the wire against her skin. She needed them to say more, to confess explicitly. Why did you kill my father? Cardigan's eyes swung to her. You want the truth, sweetheart? Your daddy was a loose end. He figured out we were copying the algorithm, threatened to expose us. We couldn't let that happen, so you tampered with his brakes. I made it look like an accident. Quick, clean, merciful, really. He didn't suffer. Cardigan's tone was conversational, like he was discussing the weather. And it would have been the end of it, except Gideon here couldn't let it go. Spent 2 years investigating, building files, playing hero. You murdered an innocent man, Gideon said, his voice low and dangerous. A good man who was just trying to do the right thing. And you've spent 3 years building an empire on his work while pretending to care about justice. At least I'm honest about what I am. Cardigan stood, gun in hand now. But this ends tonight. You're going to transfer ownership of Richester Capital to me, or I put a bullet in your girlfriend's head and make you watch. Winnie felt Gideon tense beside her. Don't do this, Cardigan. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. You took everything from me. My company, my reputation, my life. Now I'll take yours. He pointed the gun at Winnie and her heart stopped. Starting with her. Gideon stepped between them instantly, arms spread, shielding her with his body. Take me. Let her go, and you can have whatever you want. The company, the money, all of it. Just let her walk out of here. How touching. The heartless Gideon Richester, willing to sacrifice everything for love. Cardigan's smile was cruel. But I don't think so. I want you to lose everything the way I did. And that means she dies. Isolde moved closer, her own gun drawn. We should have done this 3 years ago, finished you instead of just taking your company. You tried, Gideon said. You failed. You'll fail again. Not this time. Cardigan's finger moved to the trigger. Say goodbye, Gideon. Winnie's hand found the panic button Clara had given her, hidden in her pocket. She pressed it, and the world exploded into motion. The lights cut out, plunging the warehouse into darkness. Shouting, the sound of boots on concrete, flashlights cutting through the black. Gideon's arms wrapped around her, pulling her down and behind a desk as gunshots rang out. Stay down, he breathed against her ear. Don't move. The lights came back on, harsh and sudden. FBI agents swarmed the room, weapons drawn. Cardigan and Isolde were on the ground, surrounded, being cuffed. It was over in seconds. An agent approached, helping Winnie to her feet. Ma'am, are you all right? Yes. Yes, I'm fine. We got everything on the wire. Confession to murder, attempted murder, conspiracy. They're not getting out of this. As they led Cardigan past, he locked eyes with Gideon. You think you've won? She'll never trust you completely. You'll always be the man who lied to her, who brought death to her door. That'll poison everything between you. Gideon's expression was stone, but Winnie felt him flinch. She stepped forward, putting herself between them. You're wrong. He's the man who spent 2 years trying to get justice for my father. The man who protected my family even when it cost him. The man I love. And you're just the coward who murdered an innocent man and blamed someone else, rot in prison. Cardigan's face twisted with rage as they dragged him away. Isolde followed silently, her head high, unrepentant to the end. When they were gone, when the agents had taken statements and the sun was rising over Chicago, Gideon pulled Winnie into his arms. He was shaking, his control finally shattered completely. I thought I was going to lose you. When he pointed that gun, you didn't. I'm here. We're both here. He pulled back to look at her, and his eyes were wet. I love you. God, Winnie, I love you so much it terrifies me. I know. She cupped his face, thumbs tracing his cheekbones. I love you too. I don't deserve you. I brought all of this into your life, put you in danger. Stop. We're done with that narrative. You didn't bring danger into my life. Cardigan did. You brought coffee at 2 a.m. and patience when I challenged you, and a love I didn't know I was looking for. So no more guilt. No more believing you ruin everything you touch. You saved me tonight. You've been saving me since the day we met. He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When he pulled back, he was smiling through tears. When this is over, when the trials are done and the dust settles, I'm taking you away from all of this. Somewhere quiet where no one knows our names, and I'm going to spend every day making up for the lies. I'm holding you to that. Good. He laced his fingers through hers. Because I'm never letting you go. Not for anything. 3 months later, the Chicago Tribune ran the headline, Cardigan Thorne sentenced to life without parole for murder of Dr. Marcus Kingston. The trial had been swift, the evidence damning. Isolde received 30 years as an accomplice. Their family's decades-long revenge plot died with their convictions. Richester Capital thrived, its reputation stronger than ever. Gideon had been cleared of all accusations, and the company's stock had reached record highs. Winnie's mother was healthy, her treatment successful, and fully funded by a mysterious benefactor who turned out to be Gideon, quietly paying bills for 2 years. But Winnie and Gideon, they'd been dancing around each other for weeks. He'd given her space, terrified of pushing too hard. She'd been giving him room to heal, to process everything that happened. They worked together, smiled in meetings, maintained a professional distance that was slowly killing them both. Until a Friday evening when Gideon showed up at her apartment, soaking wet from a sudden rainstorm, looking desperate and determined. "I can't do this anymore," he said without preamble when she opened the door. Water dripped from his hair, his expensive suit ruined, and he'd never looked more beautiful. "I can't pretend I don't need you. I can't sleep, I can't think, I can't breathe without you. So here's the truth. I'm in love with you. Desperately, completely, forever in love with you. And if you don't feel the same, I'll walk away." But I had to tell you. Winnie had been waiting for this, for him to stop being noble and careful and just reach for what he wanted, what they both wanted. "You idiot." She grabbed his wet lapels, pulling him inside. "I've been giving you space to heal, but I never stopped loving you, not for a second." His kiss was everything, relief and joy and hunger. He lifted her, her legs wrapping around him, and walked her backward until she hit the wall. "I've missed you. God, I've missed you so much. Then stop missing me. Stop giving me space I don't want. I was trying to do the right thing. The right thing is being with me, loving me, letting me love you back." She scraped her nails through his wet hair, and his groan was gratifying. "I'm not fragile, Gideon. I don't need protecting. I just need you. You have me. You've had me since you walked into my office with fire in your eyes." He set her down, then dropped to one knee, and her breath caught, which brings me to the real reason I'm here. He pulled out a small velvet box, and Winnie's hands flew to her mouth. "I know it's fast. I know we've been through hell. I know I've made mistakes and I'll probably make more. But I also know I don't want to spend another day without you. Marry me, Winnie. Be my partner in everything. Let me spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you." "Yes." The answer came before he finished asking. "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, a perfect solitaire that caught the light like a promise, and stood to kiss her. This kiss was different, softer, full of forever. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "I'm going to say it every day until you're sick of hearing it. I'll never be sick of it. Say it again. I love you, Winnie Kingston, soon to be Winnie Richester, if you'll have my name. I'll have everything you're offering. Your name, your heart, your ridiculously expensive penthouse." His laugh was pure joy. "It's all yours. I'm all yours." They spent that night and the next 3 days tangled together, making up for lost time, planning a future that sparkled with possibility. And when Winnie returned to work the following Monday with a ring on her finger, the office erupted in celebration. Clara hugged her tight. "About damn time. I was ready to lock you two in a conference room until you figured it out." 6 months later, they married on a private beach in Nantucket, with just close friends and family. Winnie's mother cried through the entire ceremony. Clara served as Winnie's maid of honor and gave a toast that had everyone laughing and crying. But the moment Winnie remembered most was standing on the beach at sunset, Gideon's hand in hers, promising forever. He looked at her like she was his entire world, and she knew, whatever storms came, they'd weather them together. "You know," he said as they swayed to music only they could hear, "I never properly thanked you for stopping that elevator." She laughed, the sound carrying over the waves. "Oh? How do you plan to thank me?" His eyes darkened with promise. "I'm thinking somewhere more private than a beach. Maybe the honeymoon suite. Maybe for the next week. Mr. Richester, are you propositioning your wife?" "Every day for the rest of our lives, Mrs. Richester." He kissed her slowly, deeply, with all the love and promise of forever. The reception continued without them as they slipped away, hand in hand, stealing moments that turned into hours. Later, much later, they stood on their suite's balcony, watching the moon paint silver across the Atlantic. "What are you thinking?" Winnie asked, wrapped in his arms, his chin resting on her head. "That I'm the luckiest man alive, that you took a chance on a controlling, emotionally unavailable billionaire and somehow saw past all my walls. You weren't that bad. I was terrible, I'm still terrible, but you make me want to be better." She turned in his arms, looking up at him. "You already are better. You're kind when you think no one's watching. You're generous with people who can't pay you back. You love fiercely and protect the people you care about. You're exactly who I want. How did I get so lucky? You took a risk on an intern who talked back. Best decision I ever made." He kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "I love you. I love you too." They returned to Chicago as a married couple, and Winnie stepped into her new role as Director of Investments at Richester Capital. No more intern, no more hiding. She was Gideon's equal in every way, and she proved it by closing 3 major deals in her first month. The industry buzzed with the power couple, but Gideon and Winnie didn't care. They had each other, had built something real from ashes and secrets and hard-won trust. One evening, working late, Winnie found Gideon in his office, staring at a photo on his desk. She recognized it immediately. Her father, Marcus Kingston, at a company event years ago, smiling at the camera. "I still miss him," Gideon said quietly. "I wish he could have been at our wedding, could have walked you down the aisle. He would have been so proud of you." Winnie wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her chin on his shoulder. "He'd be proud of you too. For getting justice, for building something good, for loving me the way you do. You think so?" "I know so." She turned him to face her. "My father was a good judge of character. He trusted you, believed in you, and I think, wherever he is, he's happy knowing I found someone who loves me as much as he did." Gideon pulled her close, and they stood like that for a long moment, honoring the man who'd brought them together in ways neither could have predicted. "Come on," Winnie said eventually. "Let's go home. Best idea you've had all day." He grabbed his jacket. But before they left, he stopped her at the elevator. "Remember this," she grinned. "How could I forget?" He hit the button for the lobby, and when the doors closed, sealing them in, he backed her against the mirrored wall just like that first time. "I've wanted to do this again for months, so do it." His kiss was everything. Passion and love and promise. When the elevator dinged their arrival, they were breathless and laughing, and the security guard pointedly looked away with a smile. "Think he noticed?" Winnie asked as they walked to the car. "Absolutely. I'll probably get an email from HR about public displays of affection. Worth it. Completely worth it." He opened her door, then leaned in before she could sit. "You know what else is worth it? Everything we risked to get here. Every fear we faced, every obstacle we overcame, all of it led to this, to us. And I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. Me too. She cupped his face, thumbs tracing the sharp lines she'd memorized. I love you, Gideon Richester. Today, tomorrow, and all the days after that. I love you, Winnie Richester, my partner, my wife, my everything. They drove home through the glittering Chicago night, the city that had tested them and shaped them and given them to each other. And in Gideon's penthouse, with the skyline spread before them like diamonds, they built new memories to replace the painful ones. Later, tangled in sheets with the city lights painting patterns on their skin, Gideon traced lazy circles on Winnie's shoulder. Do you remember what I said in our first interview? That I had fire and you wanted to see if I'd burn out or burn brighter. He pressed a kiss to her shoulder. You burned brighter. You're still burning, lighting up everything around you, including me. You were never dark, Gideon. You were just waiting for the right person to see your light. Poetic and beautiful. Have I mentioned I'm wildly in love with you? Once or twice. She rolled to face him, her smile radiant. But I never get tired of hearing it. Good. Because I plan to tell you every day for the next 60 years. Only 60? Fine. 70. 80. However long we get, I'm spending all of it loving you. She kissed him, soft and sweet. Deal. Outside, Chicago continued its endless rhythm, millions of lives intersecting and diverging in the great urban dance. But in the penthouse high above it all, two people had found something rare and precious. They'd found each other through fire and fear, through secrets and truth, through every obstacle that should have kept them apart. And in the end, love had been worth every risk. The end. If you fell in love with Gideon and Winnie's journey, comment your favorite moment of the story. Smash that like button and subscribe for more interesting stories. Also, check out the videos on the end screen. Trust me, if you loved this one, you'd certainly love those too. Do take care of yourself. I'll see you in my next story. Lots of love.